And good evening and welcome to City Focus. I'm Marty Olson, your host, and I want to welcome back Holly McCalla, who was here in the studio with me a couple of weeks ago, and we had a couple of technical glitches, and I thought it would be appropriate to have her back and we could have our discussion and maybe expand upon it again, and because the guys do such a great job of on reruns and getting us up on YouTube and things of that nature, so we can expand our audience, and I appreciate that. So Holly, thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
And Holly's here in her capacity, one of many, as the president of the New London High School Gridiron Club. And as most of you ought to know, Gridiron kind of is synonymous with football. And her son was a player on the New London High School team, captain if I'm not mistaken.
He was, yes.
So for her to step up and rev up the fundraising arm for the team, I applaud, and I think that it's a good thing. And that's hence why I'm wearing my X hat, because once upon a time, just when they were starting to put masks on helmets, I played for New London High School myself. I decided to put on my green and gold tie as well. But I generally don't wear a hat indoors, but just for a quick prop. So with the Gridiron Club, has this been active for a while, or have you kind of starting something new and exciting this past season?
Well, it's not new, but I wouldn't say it's been overactive for the past probably 5 or 6 years. I believe it was actually started by Juan Roman, Coach Roman, and Shannon Heap was a part of it. And so that was, quite a few years ago. It's very strong, lots of fundraising going on. And, as transition happens, the engagement, I think, was just a little bit different over the past few years. And we saw a need because, we had change in coaching staff and new energy in the program. And we felt, and I say we because I'm speaking on behalf of my volunteer group as well, we felt it was time to step up and ramp up efforts to try to match our commitment to our coaches' commitment to turning the program around.
Yeah, well, the last few years in COVID certainly did not help, but the program had kind of taken a bit of a digger the last few years, not meeting, I think, the expectations that many in the community have with Whaler pride.
For sure.
And so, with the new coach, Sanchez, I had him on as a guest shortly after he was hired, and I'd like to get him back on now that he's got a season under his belt, and to kind of get his feel for how he thinks things went and meeting his own expectations of this year and where he's looking to move in the future as well. So what did you do to corral folks to be a part of the Gridiron Club, and what has been your primary functions and things that you're doing, and is it year-round, or is it purely a seasonal thing?
Well, I personally feel that in order for it to be effective, it needs to be a year-round commitment. Certainly, it is seasonal, but we've got to put in effort year-round to make sure that we're able to do what we can do to support the program. So, I'm going to call them a group of moms because, for the most part, that really is what it was. I mean, my husband, Darren, was helpful in a lot of stuff, but the lion's share of the work was a core group of football moms who, stepped up and wanted to also be a part of the program's success. So we just early on just decided to take it by the reins. When Coach said, I need someone to lead this thing, I volunteered. I brought the moms on board that I knew would commit to it. And we just immediately hit the ground running last March, actually. I think Coach was hired in February, and on March, might even have been 17th, we hosted a meet and greet for the coaches and the players, and we've been firing on all cylinders since then. So.
Well, that's terrific. Now you've had obviously support of Coach Sanchez.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does the school administration support what's going on with the Gridiron Club? The school board, or are they a little bit detached or operating above the fray, you might say?
Well, so officially we are a separate organization. We have our own tax ID. We are a 501c3. The school officially has no authority over what we do or how we operate. That said, we have a partnership. Athletic Director Orby and I have a pretty open communication. I don't want to do anything that is contrary to board policy or not a good look for the school. Of course, I don't want to do that. And so, if I have questions or concerns or, just need some clarity on something, I'll send him a text, send him an email, whatever, and he's always super responsive. Above that, there's really no communication. And I will say that, Mr. Orby has been very thankful because he does recognize the amount of work that we've put in for the team this year. And on multiple occasions, he has thanked me for our efforts. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I think whether they're booster clubs or gridiron clubs, there's always, and it's not just New London, I think this is universal throughout the United States, that you've got volunteer organizations that are supporting after-school activities, whether they be athletics or music, whatever it may be, the theater, and they wouldn't either exist or they wouldn't have necessarily some of the extras that other schools may have if you didn't have this level of participation.
That is for sure. The schools can fund what they can fund. They fund the basics of the programs. They fund the uniforms. They fund the officials' costs. They fund the coaches' stipends. And that's pretty much it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would say, well, what else do you need? Well, if you want to be competitive and truly competitive in this day, you need to get kids to camps. You need to have them in passing leagues. They need to be working and operating year round. They need to be in the weight room. And yes, they do lift weights at the school, but we also provided, separate things to accompany that. This past summer, the kids actually couldn't lift at the high school. They had to go to Waterford Fitness for the second summer in a row due to the high school building project. Unfortunately, this past year, they didn't find out about that until about 3 days before they needed to start lifting. We've supported, food when they go to camps and Gatorades and pop-ups and coolers and, stuff like that, because these kids were on the road actually quite a bit between lifting, between their camps, between their passing leagues, and we funded all those things. My husband calls them spoiled, but I would say that they were actually very grateful that we were able to help in such a way, because we come from an area where a lot of our kids don't necessarily have the means to be able to meet the same needs that other kids can meet. And so we wanted to provide a fair playing field, not only from our team to the next team, but within our own ranks, with our own kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, using my own memory bank, and I suspect, and I know that this continues to go on, but I mean, as a youth in high school, that before games, and we used to play on Saturday afternoons and not Friday nights. It was not Friday night lights in the old days. But I mean, Saturday mornings, the team would get together at Nahas's and have breakfast. I suspect somebody was paying for that. I mean, all we did was show up and eat.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't think that the kids actually are aware of that. I mean, just you're asked to be there, and somebody provides you food, and
Right.
it's terrific. But
Right.
Somebody's either is donating that or paying for it. It's happening somehow. Our coach Bunicor at that time provided the players with sweaters with a little football on them, with NHL football, and just little things that were beyond, as you say, the game uniform.
Yes, yes. We, one of the other traditions that Gridiron had previously was they would gift. I don't even know if it was 100% of the cost of the jacket, or if it was a tiered cost to the jacket, but all of the seniors would be provided a varsity jacket, New London High School varsity jacket, and that was really important to us to bring that back this year. So in addition to raising funds to get kids, they went to Yale camp, they went to CCSU camp, they went to Grip It and Rip It passing league tournament in New Canaan, they went to the Berlin Lineman Challenge, they went to UConn to a passing league tournament. In addition,
now are these day trips, or are these like for a week? Are they overnight? Are they commuting? There's transportation costs.
Yep. So, Yale and CCSU were week-long camps that the kids traveled to and from each day. The school did provide the transportation for that, but Gridiron Club funded the cost of the registration for each player. The New Canaan Passing League was a 2-day tournament down in New Canaan, and we actually funded for hotel rooms to stay close down that way, because it was a Friday, Saturday in the middle of summer in Connecticut, Fairfield County, and I mean, by the time the day ended, we would be turning around and heading right back the next morning, with all the traffic. So
and we're also dealing with this food costs. I mean, the kids have got to eat.
Yep. We provided food. We provided the hotel, the overnight lodging for the kids, and for that, it was basically parent transport. A group of parents who were able to be there, would take multiple kids. We didn't take the whole team to that. It was a select group because it was a skills position tournament. So we took about just under 20 kids, went to that, and then another probably 10 to 15 maybe went to the Berlin Lineman Challenge and competed very well, probably the best they've ever competed at that. And that was just a 1 day, so they just went up and back on a Saturday on that. And then the passing league, we hosted 2 passing leagues in the spring and then in the summer, so everybody got to come to us for those.
Yeah, and again, this is not something that's in the school's athletic budget.
Definitely, none of that is in the school's athletic budget. That is correct.
And how many other schools are participating in these type of activities? I mean, Connecticut's got 150 districts. I mean, maybe they don't all play football, but there's a heck of a lot of them that do.
Right. Well, I tell you, when you go to, if I understand correctly, down in New Canaan, we were the only school probably from Eastern Connecticut that was invited. That's an invite-only tournament.
Okay.
There were schools, Lower Fairfield County and New York, that were at that tournament. We saw a few local teams up at up at UConn, and then of course we hosted the passing league, so that was mostly ECC schools that came to that. But unless there is a funding stream, teams aren't participating. And we would love to send them to an overnight camp, but it doesn't sound like too many of those really exist anymore, or anything that's within reason to be able to get to. So
I would think too now that this is be an opportunity not just for the students, athletes, but for the coaches as well, where they have a chance to meet and network with other coaches, and perhaps you mentioned Yale or UConn, perhaps some college coaches that perhaps have got a little bit more juice and they're networking and learning as well.
Yeah, without question. The coaches are meeting and talking to other coaches. But also what I think is important is our kids are getting exposure to a college campus that they might not otherwise have. So
Yeah, some of our kids haven't been out of town.
have never been out of town, correct. I think some of our adults have never been out of town, but that's probably a conversation for another day. So it was really eye-opening, I think, to a lot of the young men there to step on those campuses and see what big-time, I say big-time college football. I mean, it's really not even big-time. I mean, yes, those are all Division I programs, but you know, that's not even big-time college football. And
In New England, there really isn't, outside
Correct.
of Boston College. And,
correct.
UConn, maybe. Or UMass, maybe.
Yeah, but not big-time like SEC big-time.
No, not
No,
even close.
we're not
or
even
Big
close,
Ten, or
right.
not even a whiff.
Right, right.
I think you have to look at Rutgers. That's their Big Ten and down in New Jersey.
Yeah, yeah.
But to get the kids on college campuses and get a chance to see what's going on, and
Yeah, and
even
exposure to
even
college
just to
coaches.
step into the Yale Bowl if you get a chance, I think would be pretty neat if you're, even if it's empty, just the place is huge.
Yep, and that's exactly what they did. I got video of I think it was the first day when the team was walking out onto the field for the first time. Coach sent me a video of the kids, you know, entering in, and it was kind of cool because it's like that aha moment. It's like, you know, when they come down the stairs as 4-year-olds and look at the Christmas tree for the first time on Christmas morning. It's like, so good to see.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of students that have played and graduated from Yale. I mean, Coach Roman's two sons were not only superior football players, but academic giants as well.
And actually, Major just was the guest speaker at our football banquet Sunday night. So we were able to bring him back, and he had a nice speech for the kids. It was great.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
That is terrific. Well, it sounds like your program is growing, and you've got pretty good parental involvement. I'm sure there's room for growth, and you'd encourage more parents to get involved, and the community as well. And
Yes.
I know that with your fundraising efforts that you are tapping as many resources as you can. I mean, it's not just a cookie sale at the games.
Correct.
That you are hustling local organizations and businesses to be supportive of the high school squad.
That is correct. We had a handful of sponsors this year, which of course we want to just be able to grow from year to year. We were selling apparel throughout the entire season. We worked the Corvette show down at Ocean Beach in September, and were able to secure a donation from the Corvette Club, 4 Corvettes only, with Mr. Christensen.
Yep.
And the bake sales, I'm just trying to think, because I feel like it just never stopped, truly. The other piece of it too is that we also had our pasta dinners for the team every Thursday. I say every Thursday night for a Friday night game, and thankfully we have been able to reestablish the partnership with On the Waterfront restaurant, and they provided our pasta dinners every single night. So for 9 weeks. So.
And where would they be held? I mean, were you going to the restaurant, or was it being brought into the school, to the cafeteria?
This is where my husband came in. The moms would go and set up the cafeteria, and my husband would go and pick up the food and bring it. So that was like kind of his, until he had basketball practice at Mitchell, that was kind of his job to get the food and get it to us. So
at the school.
Yes, he would bring it to the school. And then the kids would come in right after practice, and they'd have a quick conversation, and we would eat, and they would, hang around for a little bit. Coaches would talk about a few things for the upcoming game, and that was it.
Well, that sounds good. And you've mentioned your husband a few times this evening, and Darren is an assistant basketball coach at Mitchell College.
Yes.
And I think that's actually where I met you guys.
I think so,
was
yeah.
at Mitchell College
Sitting watching a game.
Watching the game. And you being the shy and reserved type, you introduced yourself and asked if I was who I was, and we chatted. And this is a few years ago. And
look at us now.
How about that? And so it's been fun, and to watch that. And he's been doing that a number of years.
Yeah, I think this is his 12th season there. I think. I can't quite keep track.
Yeah.
But I think it was number 12.
And along with Todd Peretz, who's the head coach.
Yep.
And Todd's been there a number of years as well.
Yeah,
so,
like 20 something.
I mean, I think that's the coaching dynamo that's got the most stability at the school. It seems like in some cases it's been a revolving door. They just hired a new softball
Coach, yeah. I was thinking the same thing as I was reading that press release this morning. Like, man, it just feels like some of these positions are just, it's every year. But, you know, it's a small school, and it's tough to recruit, too, because of its size. And, you know, I think you're not paying all the bills either, probably being just that coach. So, you know, I think as other opportunities spring up, it's probably a good starting point for a lot of people who are serious about coaching. And, you know, whereas, you know, Coach Pretz has been around a long time, but Southeastern Connecticut is truly his home, and it's where he's raised his son. And, you know, it's where he and his wife have made their home. So, you know, it wasn't a springboard for him. It was a landing pad, and for so many others, I think it's a start. And for others,
too. I mean, Roger Bidwell with the baseball program over at Avery Point, and Jerry Quinn at St. Thomas More.
Right.
I mean, these are some pretty dynamic coaches
Without
that
question.
I'm sure could have perhaps moved into other areas if they were so inclined to do so.
Yeah. Agreed.
So it's been it's an interesting thing. And I think, and I'm not sure if this is in the realm of the Gridiron Club, but also to try to help foster with these young, well, in football in particular, it's young men. Although I suspect there may be some young ladies that are involved as managers or things of that nature on the sideline that are part of the team without, excuse me, without being on the field. To cultivate the dynamics and discipline of a competitive sport like football. I mean, it requires teamwork. It requires discipline. It requires respect. And you know, you don't have to like the person next to you,
right?
But you have to work together for the collective good.
That is correct. And, you know, when someone comes into transition, you know, getting buy-in immediately is really important. And I will say, I think that Coach Sanchez was able to accomplish that. You know, the kids really took well to him. He was side by side with them every step of the way. And also, Coach was wise enough to maintain members of the coaching staff that had deep connections with these young men already. So it wasn't just 6 or 7 brand new faces coming into the sideline. It was a new head coach, but you saw Coach LP, you saw Coach Kasi, you saw Coach Kwachka. So you had this mixture of
level of continuity,
old guard and new guard. Yeah,
I think that's important.
Agreed.
I mean, some of these kids, if it was all new faces, they may not have responded well.
Well, and you know, a lot don't know this, but Coach LP and Coach Kasi both used to coach youth football for many years. But this particular senior class, my son's senior class, is the last youth team that Coach LP coached. And Kasi too, probably the same year. So it just was kind of interesting that there was this transition this year, but as these guys head out, it was also, you know, the last group that Coach LP coached at the youth level before he transitioned to the high school level. Yep. So we've known some of these coaches a long time, and some of these kids a long time.
Yeah. and also for the players to get an education, if they have any interest in continuing with football, what is required. I mean, that if you're the 30th guy on the squad, the chance of you being recruited to go to Notre Dame are not very high. And you know, it's the best players. I mean, it's the captains and the all-staters and the all-conference that may get a look.
And probably not from Notre Dame,
And not
because
from
even
Notre-
then, it's you just. I mean, we have some truly gifted individuals on that team. I'll say Kyle Parks, Control Witherspoon DeSuze. Those are two young men that are probably going to be playing next level. And kudos to Coach Sanchez again, because he really ramped up what that looks like for these kids. I think, over the past few years, some of the kids have struggled to understand what the recruiting process needs to look like. And Coach Sanchez has brought in college coaches. He has provided opportunities for kids to make their highlight films. He's reached out to colleges, so he's made those connections, and that's been a huge benefit to some of these kids that, again, don't even have that experience. I think in our house we take it for granted because my husband has coached college basketball for so long, both here, and he was an assistant coach at Wesleyan for a few years. So we take it for granted in our house. We know the process, we know how it works, but so many don't. And we've even said to these kids, like, if you need to go see a college and you can't get there, let us know. We will get you there. Our family will take you there. And they look at us kind of funny, and we're like, no, we're not joking. We want these kids to have every opportunity. So thankfully, Coach Sanchez does too.
And as well as with that is the absolute necessity that these youngsters are taking their academics seriously. That being the star ball player, you don't want this to be the highlight of your life, being a high school ball player.
Correct.
You want it to be a part of your life.
Well, I will say too that the accountability piece exists with this particular coaching staff. The young men were required to hand in progress reports every single week, and they had to be signed off by their teachers. So it wasn't just show up to practice and practice for 3 hours a day. It was, you could show up to practice, but unless you're bringing your grades with it, there's consequences to not being accountable. And the message was really putting your team above yourself. And because you're letting the whole team down if you're not carrying yourself the way you're supposed to. And it really, the kids, they got there. One of the things I said the other night at the banquet was the transition was vast. The change was vast, and it was great and wonderful. But the thing that I personally was most proud of is that we did not have one ejection, one fight on the team this year. And
that's critically important.
That's huge.
And I mean, for better or worse, London's we have a rep. And,
Passion.
And there are those on the outside who can't wait to see New London stub its toe.
Correct.
Or worse.
Correct. We did not do that this year.
And
I watched every second of every game, and it did not happen. It came close. When another team threw a punch at one of our players, and it came close, but the team rescued that situation.
Well, and that's important.
I was very proud to see our young men keep their heads about them, even when every one of their rivals out there tried to bait them into something physical.
Yeah, well, that's very, very important.
Yes.
That shows a level of maturity.
Yes.
Self-control.
Yes.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
Well, I'm glad to hear of this level of involvement and improvement, and it really requires for a program to move forward. It requires that level of commitment, and it's beyond what the practice and Friday, Saturday game time. Put the uniform on and play.
Yes.
And recognizing that, at the end, in our case, Thanksgiving, or if we're fortunate enough to get a tournament run after that last game, that you still have to maintain your integrity and do the right thing. I mean, when you were here a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that as a youth, Coach Bunicor stressed to the players that 50 years ago, you guys are New London High School football players. and just by definition, it makes you special.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys may not understand it, you may not, but the kids are looking up to you. They know you play football.
Mm-hmm.
And they do now too.
Yes. Yes.
And these kids are special.
Yes.
And when Sanchez was here, he brought a couple of players, and I told those two young men the same thing. And you guys are special.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys, if you're doing something silly or stupid, people will see it. You can't hide in a corner.
I said that something similar to that when we gifted the young men their jackets. I said, these are your colors, and I don't mean this from a gang perspective, but you're in the green and gold, and when you're out there, people expect the absolute worst. And when I say people, I mean people outside of New London expect that you're going to do something to draw negative attention, and don't prove them right, prove them wrong. And just remember that you represent your parents, you represent your community, and most importantly, you represent yourself. And it was just great that the kids they really represented our city very, very well this year, on the field and off.
Mm-hmm. And I think too that it's important that New London having three Division III colleges in our 6 square miles.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for our kids to see up close and personal, that if they take advantage of it, what it's like to compete athletically at a D3 level. And the D3 is a lot better, I think, than some of these young folks think that it is.
For sure. For sure. Unfortunately, 2 of the 3 don't have football programs, but they certainly have basketball programs. They have soccer programs, tennis, etc. And people, I think, take for granted how competitive Division III sports can be. I mean, I think of Conn College being in the NESCAC with the Williams and the Amherst and the Wesleyans and Bates and Bowdoin, and these are all schools that from year to year rank nationally for basketball. And
these kids are good athletes, and they're also very strong academically.
Correct.
You don't get in those schools if
Correct.
you're a dope.
Correct. You do not. So, it's unfortunate, and I think we talked about this a few weeks ago too, how our kids and parents too don't take advantage of the opportunities to go to these 3 schools that we have in our community and watch these, and it's all free of charge. There's except at Mitchell now, but
Well, I'm wondering how long that's going to last, but we'll see.
We'll see. But you basically can go for free to watch college-level athletics, and all within a mile or 2 of your own home. And so many people don't take advantage of it, and it's really just too bad because it's great competition, and you're in it because you're 4, 5, 6 feet off the court. You're like you're a part of it. You got great seats, and I love to sit courtside. You know that. That's where we sit. So.
Well, I agree, and a handful of years ago, Amherst, which is in with Conn College, they won the national championship, but I saw them play at Conn. And where can you go to watch for free, as you point out, the national champs?
Right. Right.
And Babson plays in the same conference with the Coast Guard, and I forget if it was the year before or after, but they won a national championship in basketball. Outside of Boston.
Well, and last season, not this past fall, but fall before, Conn won the national championship in soccer, men's soccer. So it's huge competition, right in our backyard.
And I'm surprised that soccer championship has not garnered more juice in our local community, within the school, as well as just in our local media. I mean, this is big stuff.
Big stuff, yeah. I can't call it. I don't know why we cover the things we do and don't cover. I guess because negative sells more. I don't know. I hope not. But speaking of national championships, have you heard about the 12U Whaler cheerleaders?
I've heard, yes.
Yeah, national champions.
That's pretty heavy stuff.
That's amazing. That's great stuff. So proud of those young ladies. Big squad, but very, very good. Well, the best, clearly.
Well, that's again, and they've represented themselves in the community exceptionally well.
Yes, yes. So hopefully the community does something to acknowledge that. At least these are our own kids.
Sure. But again, this is where organizations like the Gridiron Club are so important because they help to reinforce positive outcomes and initiatives and keep the kids focused, and also helps reinforce parental involvement as well, beyond just sitting in the stands carping at the coach.
Well, I'm guilty of that too, though. I wear that role too, Marty.
Well, I think that it's important to get as many people interested. I mean, I don't know. I haven't studied why. I mean, I attend high school, New London High School in particular, sporting events because I enjoy them. I mean, I watch the Old Town team, and I do follow many, not all of the players that may move on to the next level. If they're quasi-local, I may go to a ball game and watch them play, whether it's football or basketball or whatever. But I want these kids to know that there are people in the community that are paying attention.
Yeah.
That we care, and that they're representing not only themselves, but they're representing the school that they're at, New London High, and New London itself.
Right.
In their new endeavors. I
Right.
mean, Chris Dunn, who's the NBA player. I mean, all the great ball players we've had, and he's the guy who's made it.
Yeah.
And he's had his trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
But he's been a beacon of light, and he's given back. Don't have to do that, but he has.
Right. Right.
And I think that speaks volumes about what kind of a guy he is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's so funny because in the way the world works with kids transferring schools, and it's harder and harder to keep a connection to your hometown school.
So easy to move.
And it's just.
And it's not going to change. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, it's disheartening when, I know, like, I think of when, like, I'll use this senior class as an example, of the football team. When these kids were playing youth football, they were just unstoppable. And when they played basketball together, they were just unstoppable. But it's fractured because kids have gone different places for whatever reasons. And I feel like if that group of kids had all really stayed together, we'd be looking at probably state championships in at least 2 different sports this year. But we're not. And that's just a difference of the time. But I couldn't imagine not playing for my hometown team.
Well, there's many different forces in that regard too. It's easier to move. I mean, I don't like the coach, and so I'm going to go to another community that's got a magnet program. I mean, New London's got a magnet program. People can come to New London.
Right.
But it's or go to a Catholic school, private school, and the movement has been it's almost encouraged.
Yeah.
And not necessarily for the betterment of community.
Correct.
And then you have AAU issues. I don't think so much in football, but basketball and baseball is certainly prevalent.
For sure. Yeah. Hopefully we throw together I don't want to say hopefully. When we fully turn this program around, kids are going to want to be coming in again because they're going to want to be a part of the tradition. And numbers in football are down. Just birth rate is down, so available kids are down, and down due to concerns around concussions, even though the sport is probably safer than it's ever been. But once the full transition happens, we're going to see numbers grow again because the pride will be fully reinstilled, and kids are going to want to be a part of it. So that's also the role that we play as Gridiron is, to provide those extras to also help to entice, more kids to want to come and be a part of our program.
Yeah. Well, yeah, again, we are competing. I mean, it's in our region, within the state, and beyond, for that matter. I mean, we've had students that have left New London and gone, excuse me, prepping, to out of state. Our A.J. Dillon did not stay local. He did a freshman year at New London, and he was off in, I think, someplace in Massachusetts.
Yeah, it was at Brewster Academy, I think.
And then he, to BC, and away he goes. What would New London have had, Ben, if they'd had, this load in the backfield for 4 years?
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right.
But well, you do the best you can, and but things change, and that's something that we have to be. And the older I get, it seems it's harder to accept change, but it keeps happening anyway.
I know. Every morning I get out of bed, I'm like, oh, that's new.
Nobody's coming and consulting with me. Well, do you approve? They just do it. Are you with us or are you not?
Right.
And if you're not, you get left behind.
Yep.
You got to learn to do what you got to do. I mean, I had a number of months ago Mike DeMauro sitting where you are, and one of the issues that he wanted to address is the name, image, and likeness, which is now becoming very, very prevalent at the college level. But his concern that he was expressing is having it trickle down into the high schools, where you're going to have the star players in high school that are going to be accessing. I believe the CIAC has endorsed this, which is just flabbergasting. I mean, it's that these young teenagers getting compensated to play athletics. I'm not sure that this is in anybody's best interest. And then it will seep into the junior high, middle school level.
Right. Well, and certainly that mindset, not the compensation piece, but the mindset that everyone is going to be this all-star, this professional player, has already seeped down into, you got AAU tournaments of 4 and 5-year-olds that it's like, what are we doing? What's happening? Yeah. Why are 4 and 5-year-olds playing AAU basketball?
Well, I mean, there are, always going to be, at the middle school level, there's going to be students that have matured or gotten big early, and they will often be the star. From let's say the age of 11 or 12 until they get into high school, and then others will start to catch up. But that one who's a load. As a 12 or 13-year-old, all of a sudden has been passed and surpassed.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already lived their glory.
Yeah,
they were an all-star in Little League.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? There's another life ahead of you.
Well, it's funny, my husband and I, we talk about this quite often because sports is a pretty significant topic in our home. And, we talk about, there's not one college coach that cares that you won a AAU tournament. When they're recruiting you, that never comes up that you won an AAU tournament somewhere, did something, or whatever, and it kind of that same idea. It just we're a little bit turned upside down, I think, with what the priorities are and what the realities are of of futures in sports.
Yeah, well, I think that there's a thought process in place that if junior or whatever is a good high school player, whatever sport they're playing, that they can get a scholarship, and they're not all that many to throw around.
Right. There's a lot more academic scholarships than there are athletic scholarships.
And just sort of put all your eggs in that athletic scholarship basket is can be a bit risky.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And at the D3 level, there are no athletic scholarships.
Correct. Correct. Yep.
And some of the schools, and Mitchell's one of them. I mean, Mitchell's not an inexpensive school if you're paying full freight. Now, I don't know how they handle their scholarships and things of that nature to help offset some of the expenses, but it's not. They must have to do some bobbing and weaving, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine Mitchell has much of an endowment like a Yale or a Harvard would.
I would suspect
or
not.
even a Con, for that matter. So I would think that probably for kids to go to a school like Mitchell, they are getting whatever they're getting in federal aid based on parental income, and whatever merit scholarship they get based on grades, and then after that, it's probably loans. And that is not a great way to start off life, being tens of thousands of dollars in debt. But kids want to play basketball. When Darren recruits kids to Mitchell, he always says to them, you need to be coming here for something other than basketball. Because if basketball goes away, you're going to still want to be here. Otherwise there's this, and so many kids just don't even visit the campus before they start there, just because they're going to play basketball. They're excited that they're going to play basketball, and that's great, but that's a big decision, and if you're not fully understanding the financial ramifications of it, you're going to be in for a rude awakening once you graduate.
Well, that's true. I mean, we had a young man who, basketball player, Doug Hetton, who was a very good high school player in London.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall where he went immediately after school, but he went for a bit, and I believe withdrew. I mean, there was financial issues that, and Mike DeMauro, again from the day, became kind of his advocate, and he was advocating in a big way that he should, go to Con, and that Con should accept him, and it,
and then fundraising to help pay.
And ultimately he got into Con.
Mm-hmm.
And he was academically able to do that. He had he had it between the ears, and he was a sharp young man.
Yep.
But I think he was perhaps a little bit surprised too that this is not the playgrounds of New London. This was D3 ball, and the quality of play, I think, may have been a bit of a surprise.
Correct.
Because he played, but he was not the star.
Right. Right. Right, he was on the team. I remember that. Yeah, I wouldn't say even. Yeah, I remember watching him play. And actually, he taught for a while at Benny Dover Jackson Middle School. My son had him as a teacher, and he really liked him as a teacher too. So I love though when these guys do come back and want to.
Come back to the community.
Yeah, there's two guys actually, at least two guys that played at Mitchell, who both teach at Benny Dover. And they also, Joshua Ford, he's one of the all-time leading scorers at Mitchell. He's actually coaching the girls' basketball team at Benny Dover. And Donovan McLean, who played basketball at Mitchell as well, is coaching the boys' basketball team at Benny Dover. So I love that. I want to get to the games to just support these guys. We were fortunate enough to go to Josh's wedding over the summer. So
I mean, I don't know either of those young men personally, but I recall watching them play. And I was advised when Ford came to Mitchell, he was actually recruited as a baseball player.
Yes, he never played high school basketball. He went to high school at St. Anthony's down in New Jersey.
That's the Hurley's.
Yes, stomping grounds. Yeah, he never. I don't know if he never went out, never made the team, whatever, but was playing pickup in Mitchell's gymnasium one day, and Todd saw him and was like, why aren't you playing basketball? And he's one of the all-time leading scorers, and anyone who ever watched him play would tell you that he's probably a better passer than a scorer. So he just amazing court vision.
He made other guys around him better.
Without question.
Fun to watch.
Yes, and a great guy. I'm so happy he's in our middle school. Our kids need guys like Josh and Donovan.
Well, we do. Yep, that's the transition of the youth, and it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Good role models for the young people in our community.
Yep. So.
we're getting down to our last few minutes here. The time flies here on City Focus. And I just want to ask if there's anything that perhaps we have not touched on that you'd like to speak on, whether it be on any topic. It could be the Gridiron Club, what you're doing, and if anybody wants to get involved, or any of the other topics that we have broached.
We've put out there. Well, I mean, certainly a Gridiron Club. You know, we're kind of on a little, taking a little bit of a break right now. Like I said, we just had our banquet Sunday night, and we are taking a little bit of a deep breath, but we'll be ramping efforts up again in January, getting our plan in place for our upcoming fundraising initiatives, going out and speaking with some community agencies and working with them hopefully for future sponsorships, but always need volunteers. And you don't have to be a parent of an active player to volunteer. I think actually the majority of my moms will be back to help next year, and only one of them will still have a player on the team. The rest of us will all have graduates at that point in time. But we definitely need underclass parents and community members who, you know, want to get involved, want to, you know, do an easy volunteer bid, if you will. We open and accepting of anyone. We meet once a month, and we're open with our books and everything, and we work hard to try to make it better for our kids. So yeah, that's Gridiron. You know, we want to get it. We want to, as we say, we want to restore our tradition, hone our culture, and honor our past. And we had a good year this year, and I just really hope that, you know, we can continue those efforts too. And I could turn over the program to someone else to keep it going.
Yeah. Well, that's the strength of the program will be if you are cultivating new people
Right.
to step up and lead.
Yes.
They're not designed to be president for life.
Correct. And I don't want to be.
Yeah. For a number of reasons.
Right.
I mean, it's not healthy for the individual. It's not healthy for the organization. I mean,
Right.
things get stale. You lose your audience, and
Yep.
That's not good. You
Right.
know,
Right.
You need new enthusiasm and juice all the time.
Yes, agreed. And yeah, let's see. I mean, huge supporter of New London athletics all the way around. Basketball season is about to pop off. The girls are about to get started. Actually, I think both the boys and girls both open this Friday night. The girls play at home. The boys play at East Lyme. I don't know if you saw that Nellie Studley, a recent graduate, was Rookie of the Week.
I saw that.
That's great. Good to see that
And
stuff
she's
happen.
at Sacred Heart
Sacred
down
Heart.
in Fairfield, Bridgeport.
Yep. So lots of good stuff. And I know, yes, we were athletic heavy in this conversation, but there's kids doing amazing things with academics in that school too. And unfortunately, we don't get to hear a lot about that. It's really too bad. Even the, they don't even put the honor and merit rolls in the paper anymore.
That's unfortunate.
It's all online, but I was kind of going back and forth with New London many times because they weren't even releasing the information for it to go anywhere. So we need to do a better job of advertising all of the wonderful things our kids are doing in New London schools outside of athletics as well.
Well, listen, I mean, as a magnet school district, K through 12, I mean, in order to attract students from outside of New London, we have to be performing academically. I mean,
Correct.
I don't think that many parents are going to gamble with their children's education
Right.
and say, well, I'm going to send my kids to New London because it looks neat.
Right. It's a shiny new school.
They're going to do it because they're going to get a good quality education.
Right.
Okay. Well, we're getting the red light there is telling us it's time to wrap it up. I want to thank you again
Thanks,
for coming
Marty.
in.
Thank you.
And we'll have you back another time. Look forward to next week when you come in and talk to the Kiwanis Club.
All right.
Folks, you've been watching City Focus, and we'll see you again next week. Good night.